Fellow Ghanaians, a very good evening to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on Upfront. It's a Wednesday evening, and it's always a pleasure to come your way with Upfront. For many of you, you're particularly excited because maybe right now we all do know that some 16,963,306 Ghanaians, all things being equal, will be casting their vote or do qualify to cast their vote on the 7th of December 2020 in selecting 275 members of parliament and also a president for this country. But having looked at the numbers and having looked at the period from the very first day of registration to the 38th day, what do these figures mean, particularly for the political parties? I know that already the analysis have begun, and for some of you, well, if the numbers reduce, looks like, a victory for a certain party. And if the numbers increase, it's victory for another party. What do these actually mean? What we're going to be doing tonight on Upfront is to actually look at the figures, crunch the figures, and find out which party, be it the NPP or the NDC, stands to benefit looking at the figures. Which political party would stand to benefit? And later on, I'll be introducing my guest shortly to you. But for those of you who do not know, well, it's some 16,963,306 Ghanaians who qualify to vote in 2020 elections. And as you could see, the map showing, regions of Ghana, the Upper West region having some 470,271, with the Upper East 653,730. But for many of you, what really stands out is that the Greater Accra region has 3,500,806, and the Ashanti region has 3 million votes. What do these figures mean for the NPP and the NDC? Well, we've been joined this evening by Zoom by a senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. That's Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah. He has lots of expertise when it comes to elections. In the 2016 elections, one of the few guys who predicted correctly who was going to win. He's joined us via Zoom. And we've also been joined via Zoom as well by Dr. Emmanuel DeGraff Johnson Owusu-Ansah, who's at the KNUST Department of Actuarial Science and Mathematics. He also will be helping us understand what these figures mean and which party is likely to benefit from these figures. My name is Winston Amwa. I'll be here, I'll be moderating, and we'll be having a very, very great conversation. That'll be all after this short break. We'll be right back. Well, thank you very much for staying with us and welcome back. This is Upfront on the JoyNews channel. I am Winston Amwa, and with my guest ready on Zoom. We're zooming into the discussion now. Let me say good evening to you again, Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah and Dr. Emmanuel DeGraff Johnson Owusu-Ansah. Thank you very much for joining us. And let me start off with you, Dr. DeGraff Johnson. So we've seen the figures. Now, the Electoral Commission projected 15 million. There's been lots of issues about whether or not this figure, the number of registered voters, is representative of those who qualify to vote. What do you make of the figures, considering that in some of the regions there's been a reduction from the 2019 figures?
Well, good evening to your listeners. Looking at the values that have been given out by the Electoral Commissioner, it is actually expected, because normally it has been expected that in developing countries, about 50% of the population will be above the age of 18. So having value like 15 million and more of that to 16 million that has been projected as of today, it is something that all statisticians were expecting. We are all expecting that value to be the well-representative number within the country. Now, looking at where some regions' values have been decreasing, some others have been increasing, it is to the fact that, don't forget that previously, I, for instance, will have to go to my village to be able to register because I prefer to vote in my village. But due to COVID-19, I couldn't go. I have to stay at where I work and register. This and many more are the dynamics that are in play. That is the reason why some of the regions' values have been decreasing, whilst others have increased over the days. And it is expected so. In fact, I would have been very surprised if the capital cities that we have, the numbers would have decreased in the capital cities. I would have been surprised. But it did not happen like that. The capital cities, or the cities that we have here, do have their numbers being going up. It is much so expected because they are the ones who move to the hinterlands to register in their respective constituencies where they were born or where their hometown is. So it is not a surprise to us as a statistician. It is not a surprise to modelers. It is not a surprise to political scientists. These are the values that they are all expecting.
I'll get to the political scientists, but if you look at the figures carefully, and I'm just looking at them here, very soon, if you look at the figures carefully, you would realize that consistently, some regions have seen a reduction. For instance, the Western region. In 2000, 1,076,000. By 2004, we had 1,007,816. Same has happened. In 2019, we had 1,705,129. By 2020, even if I am to add the Western North, you have 1,650,000. That, however, is not a situation for the Greater Accra region, for instance, which has been seeing increase consistently. What could account for this?
One of the reasons that could have accounted for this, as demographers and all those who study economics might have concluded, will be the opportunities in the cities. And because of the opportunities in the cities, people will move into the cities to do their registration. And as I have said previously, that due to COVID-19, which has restricted movement, more people will actually prefer to register where they stay. So currently, if you are staying in Accra and you used to register somewhere in Western region, I'm not sure you are going to go to Western region to register. You will be in Greater Accra to register.
Okay.
This dynamics has affected a lot of people in order for us not be able to go to our villages and our towns to register. Now, if you look at the numbers in some regions, it is also expected because there will be some form of movement into these regions. Look at that of Western region. Western region has seen some form of movement from Greater Accra or Central region to Western region due to some of the economic activities that have come out within the last 5 years. So it is also expected that Western region will give us some numbers as has been projected or as the Electoral Commissioner values actually depicts.
Great. Let me get to Dr. Owusu-Mensah, talking about political scientists. Let me get to him and get his view on this. Then we get into, what this means for the political parties, what this means for election 2020. Dr. Owusu-Mensah, if you look at the figures, were you surprised at the turnout?
No, I'm not surprised at the turnout because given what my brother said, especially with the issue of COVID-19, which restrict people from moving from one community or from one city to another city. People were compelled to stay at home, and in view of staying at home, there are no option but what to be in Accra or to be wherever they are. Secondly, we realize that these cities that the numbers are big, for instance, Greater Accra and Kumasi as well, that the numbers used to be big. The students factor was very important. And here we had the university students are also at home. Therefore, it's expected that these issues will turn out. But given the fact that Greater Accra numbers continue to grow, it's not different because most people who come to the University of Ghana here, they get opportunity to the national service here, they end up getting a job in Accra here, they leave to the what we call the Greater Accra region at the end of the day. Kasua, Dudodowa, Adenta, Amasama, all these Ningo Pram Pram, all these areas are growing. So I'm not surprised that the numbers are up in Greater Accra at all.
Okay, so let's look at what these numbers mean. Yes, you're not surprised, we've seen the numbers, but for many Ghanaians, what we want to know now is that, yes, after all these numbers, what do they mean for election 2020. And I know you, Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah, in 2016 you did the research, you predicted correctly the party that was going to win, and it did come to pass. If you look at these numbers, what do they mean, first, for the NPP, and two, for the NDC?
Thank you very much. I think before we answer that question, it's important to look at the history of the election winnings. In 2000, NPP won the elections. When they won the election, how did the NPP win this 2000 election? In 2000, NPP won by winning Greater Accra, by winning Greater Accra, Ashanti, by winning Greater Accra, Ashanti, Bono Afro region, Eastern region, and Western region. In 2004, NPP again won. They won Ashanti region, Bono Afro region, Central region, Eastern region, Greater Accra, and Western region. In 2008, NDC won by winning Greater Accra, Central region, Northern region, Upper East, Volta region, and sharing Western region with NPP 47.6 each. In 2012, NDC won by winning BA. Please forgive me, we have to still look at the old regions because that's how the election results came out. They won BA, Central region, Northern region, Upper East, Upper West, Volta, and Western region. In 2016, NPP won by winning Bono Afro region, Ashanti region, Eastern region, Greater Accra region, Western region, and Central region. These were the regions that the NPP won, and this is the history of how the parties have been winning to capture power over the years. In this 2020 election that we will be going, it's important to look at basic regional analysis. Greater Accra is expecting higher voter turnout because if you look at the history of the voter turnout, you realize that after every turnover, the next elections, the voter turnout goes up. So in 2004, the voter turnout went up. In 2008, it dropped. In 2012, it went up. 2016, it dropped. 2020, we are expecting that the voter turnout is going to be higher. And if the voter turnout is going to be higher, two other factors come apart from the pattern of the voter turnout. This register that we have just compiled, it's just been done, and it's so close to the elections. And therefore, the possibility of having a lot of ghost names, that, forgive my language, that is the people who might have died or who might have passed on, whatever term we use appropriately, will be very minimal. And therefore, it's expected that the voter turnout will be very high. Now, if the voter turnout is going to be high, the Greater Accra becomes the battleground for the NPP.
1 minute. Hold on 1 minute. Let's look at the trend again. I mean, so we can follow. So you've talked about how the trends have been, altering low and high. So the 1996 voter turnout was higher than 1992. Yes, go ahead. Explain that again. We'll bring, those particular turnouts so that our viewers can appreciate it. Yes, we're making that point. Go ahead.
Yes, so I can go to the voter turnout again for purpose of our viewers. In 1992, the voter turnout was 53.75. In 1996, the voter turnout was 78.6. In 2000 elections, it was 61.9. In 2004, it was 85.1. In 2008, it was 69.5. And in 2012, it was 79.43. And in 2016, it was 69.6. The point is that after every turnover, the voter turnout goes up. So 1992 was the first time we had an election. In 1996, apart from cleaning the voter register, there was high enthusiasm, and it went up to 78. In 2000, it dipped 61.9. In 2004, it went up to 85.1. In 2008, it came down to 69.5. In 2012, it went up to 79.43. In 2016, it came down to 69.6. So this year, it's expected that the voter turnout will go up. And therefore, Greater Accra becomes very, very important region, or as I will call it, the battleground for both NPP and then NDC as well. Now, apart from Greater Accra, there are other regions to look at again. For instance, in Ashanti region, it's also Ashanti region have 3 million beyond 3 million, I think about 13,000 more. And it's expected that Ashanti region, as we all know, will vote for NPP. If you move from Ashanti region and you go to voter region as well, voter region, let's put voter with OT together as one region. If you put them together, it's also expected that the voter turnout will go high and they also predominantly vote for the NDC. Now, if you move on to Eastern region, it's also expected that the voter turnout will be higher in favor of the NPP as well. Now, another place that it becomes battleground will be the Central region. Central region is a very important region because of the swinging nature of the region, as you may look at the results since 1992. And it shows that it goes left and goes right. It goes to NPP and goes to NDC. But what are the options that are available for the parties? For NPP to win these elections, one, NPP must win marginally in Greater Accra. They must beat NDC in Central region, and they must get at least 75% of the vote from Ashanti region, and the 60% of the vote from Eastern region. Those are the options that's available for the NPP. What are the options available for the NDC? NDC must win Greater voter region because the voter turnout is expected to be very high in voter region. They must win voter region. They must win Greater Accra region. They must win Central region, Northern region, Upper East and Upper West. They must get 50% of the vote from Eastern region and 30% of the vote from Ashanti region, and they are done.
But Dr. Usumensa, before you continue, you know the NDC tried Agenda 50-50 in the Eastern region. In the 2016 election, it didn't work. Now, they tried Agenda 30% in the Ashanti region in 2016. It didn't work again. Now, this time around, you've talked about the NPP, having a stronghold in the Ashanti region. The NPP consistently has won more than 50% of votes in the Eastern region. Are you by this suggesting that if the NDC is unable to get 50% in the Eastern region and 30% in the Ashanti region, that's the end?
That is not the end, but it means that the votes must be made from somewhere else. And where is that somewhere? That somewhere is Greater Accra and Central region. So if they are able to make 30% in Ashanti and 50% in Eastern, then they must up their game in the Greater Accra and Central region. So that is an option that's available.
I'll get to Dr. De Graaf Johnson shortly, but we also do know, if you look at the figures, if you look at the trends, that the Greater Accra region consistently, whenever it votes for a certain party, in the next election, it votes for that party and changes after an 8-year cycle. Yeah. Wouldn't that continue this time around?
The continuity or the otherwise is dependent on the government policies that it has implemented in the last 3.5 years. So for people to support you or to reject you will certainly not be based on the electoral history, but it will also be based on what you have done for me and what you did not do for me. I had road that was so bad. When you came in, have you been able to fix the road or not? And when you came in, what are the policies that you have brought in that is in my favor or is against me? This is what will do the trick for the Greater Accra, whether for the NPP or for the NDC.
Great. Let me get to Dr. De Graaf Johnson. I'll get back to you shortly, Dr. Usumensa. But Dr. Johnson, so De Graaf Johnson, Dr. Usumensa believes that, for the NDC to win, they must win the Greater Accra region. They must get 50% in the East region, 30% in the Ashanti region. Do you agree? Well, I think that you probably might have muted your, if you could unmute it. Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I can hear me now.
Sure. Okay.
Look at what my senior colleague has posited. The analysis actually shows similar pattern like that. Now, if you take it into this particular scenario, as you have said, every other election cycle, the number keeps on going up, or the percentage.
Hello, Dr. De Graaf Johnson.
2012, it was high. 2012, it was high. but particularly all the years that exhibited some form of higher voter turnout, the least we've had is 76%. That happened in 1996. If you look at the 2012, that witnessed a very high voter turnout. It was more than 80%. So it is expected that this one is going to be very high, as he has already explained. Now, look at this pattern. If you want to put them into these two political parties, what we should be mindful of is the way the various regions are aligned to the political parties. So in some form of analysis, we use what we call the previous 3 cycle elections, presidential elections, voter turnout, to do our calculations. And then we found out that if we have 16 million plus voters as of today, then we are expecting that not less than 12 million votes need to be cast in the upcoming election for the presidential side. So we are expecting a list of 73% voter turnout, which is the worst case scenario, though we are expecting more than 80%. But if you still use the worst case scenario, which is the 73% voter turnout, it seems we have the various regions: Western North, Volta, Oti, Bono East, Savannah, Northern, Northeast, Upper East, Upper West. These are NDC leaning regions. No matter what, this region is going to go for NDC. So they have approximately a little over 5,000 votes. That is according to the voter register. If you use
as in 5 million votes.
Yeah, 5 million votes, a little over 5 million votes. But if you adjusted it to the 73% voter turnout, the least expected in the upcoming election, it means about 3.6 million votes are there in this particular region. Bear in mind, we've not accounted for how much will go to the either parties. Now, if we take the other regions, that's the Eastern, the Ashanti, the Bono, and the Ahafo region, there is approximately 5.5 voters available to be fight within these two political parties. But these regions are leaning towards the NPP. Now, if I adjust it to the 43%, which is the least one, it's expected to be a little over 4 million votes leaning to the NPP. Now, if you come to the swing regions, as my senior colleague has already said, there is a whopping 6 million votes out there to be a battle between these two political parties. Now, if you adjust this, it's around 4 million votes. So it is like we still have about 30% or 33% of the votes to be fought between these two political parties in the upcoming election. As to how the percentage goes in these regions, as a matter of the work that these two political parties what they are going to do from now to the election date to win the people. But of all these numbers, as we've seen, it is also interesting to note that the ideas about how social media contribute to the election is also shifting. It's shifting across the regions. If you do some form of sentimental analysis and look at how these the social media pooling are all going on, it gives you a very clear indication as to the contribution of the regions. However, the swing regions, especially central region and western region, are not contributing much in the social media discussion. The social media discussion.
Hello, Dr. DeGraff Johnson. Yes, go ahead.
All the pools and all the pundits, all of them, whatever they do, it is leaning towards the NDC. So the MPP has to do a lot of work on the social media to win. And the surge in polling that is supporting the NDC on the social media. In as much as these ones are concerned, it is also very important for me to point out that social media elections cannot, in our country, give us a clear indication in the sense that majority of our voting age people also do not contribute to social media political platforms. They do not. So it is up to the political parties to be able to work through the central region, the western region, and then the greater Accra region, with the greater Accra region being the battleground that each of these countries that needs to win this particular election has to win it. Once you win greater Accra region and one of the other regions, central and then the western region, then you have a better chance of assuming the presidency in Ghana. Now, if you look at the other regions, one of the things that is very common is that whilst Ashanti region values are going up, you should bear in mind that the opposition party has up to 25% of all votes cast in the Ashanti region belonging to them. That is not so in OT region and the Volta region. If you take the Eastern region, as you've said, the difference is not that much in terms of percentage, because it's always around 40 up to 45 for the NDC and 50 and above for the NPP. Now, if you look at the northern regions, the Savannah, the Upper East, Upper West, and all those regions, the margin is wide. So now, in order for MPP or NDC to win this particular election, it is incumbent on them to make sure that Western region, Central region, Greater Accra region, two of these regions goes for their political party. That is the only way to win the election at hand.
To you, because Dr. Usu-Mensah was making similar points. I need to understand how he came by this figure. So, Dr. Usu-Mensah, I know you'll be leaving us shortly, but before you go, help me understand how you came by the 30% in the Ashanti region, 50% in the Eastern region, and winning the Greater Accra region for the NDC, for instance. How did you come by these? And how significant are these numbers? Okay, so let me get back to you. Dr. DeGraff Johnson will try and, work the connectivity and get back to Dr. Usu-Mensah. But you're making a point, Western region, Central region, and Greater Accra region. We do know, for instance, that in the 2008 election, the NPP came close to winning election with just two regions, Eastern region and the Ashanti region. Are these not feasible for a party to use them in winning an elections?
Looking at the numbers and the distribution of numbers that we have, as been shown by the Electoral Commissioner, it is not possible to use two regions, Eastern region and Ashanti region, to win the upcoming elections. If you use if you go to the 2008 elections that you are talking about, the 2008 election, the total voter turnout was low. It was 69.5. Actually, this one is not the runoff. It is the actual election, the main election before the runoff. If you look at that, Ashanti region did have a turnout of around 65%. Eastern region also has 63%. These two are among the highest voter turnout that we had in the 2008 election. In the 2008 election, if you look at the other ones that are also exhibited a higher voter turnout, include the Central region, which was 63, including Northern region, which is 64. So if you look at 65 for Ashanti region, and then 63 for Eastern region, were the highest voter turnout. The rest with the highest voter turnout, the actual voter number registered were low. So if you have, say, 700,000 voter registered number and you have a turnout of 60%, and if Ashanti region you have 2 million voter registered and they do have 62%, the number is going to be very high. You should emphasize again, that year was a year that actually resulted in a lower voter turnout. In 2012, where the voter turnout was high, up to 80% and above, it was not expected. So that one couldn't have happened.
So let's look at
2016. It couldn't have happened. Because 2016, we actually had close to 70%. So in 2020, that we expected a higher voter turnout, using 2 regions to win the presidency is not something that I will call for.
Okay.
There needs to be a swing region that will be in favor of a political party in order to take the highest seat in Ghana.
Now, let's look at the voter turnout, since you're talking about the voter turnout, and let's do something, unique. Let's look at the voter turnout and find out, for instance, times when there's a high voter turnout, which political party gets to benefit. But before we do that, let me get to Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah. He's joined us again. Dr. Owusu-Mensah, before we wrap it up with you, so you're talking about the NDC needing 30% in the Ashanti region, 50% in the Eastern region, having to win Greater Accra region and Central. How did you come by this analysis? I need to have a better appreciation of it. Help us understand why you're making this analysis.
I came by these pointers and also giving the scenario on the basis of the numbers that these parties have. It's important to look at the voter turnout and look at how it turns out to be at the end of the day. First, Ashanti region, even though when they are angry with you and when they are angry with their party, NPP, they may not necessarily come out to vote. But consistently, Ashanti region has always recorded the highest voter turnout in Ghana as a region. If you look at the voter turnout throughout, Ashanti region has done that. So if the Ashanti region keeps doing that, and therefore you have to calculate, given the fact that they have 3 million now, and given the fact that it's a stronghold of the NPP, what percentage of that NPP needs to get, and what percentage of that will go to the NDC, that will add up to the numbers that they have. Don't forget the fact that in Greater Accra also, it is not NPP, it is not NDC. But the truth is that the margin of change between the NPP and the NDC is also very minimal in Greater Accra, especially in the last few elections. The margin of change is extremely minimal. It's possible, all right, in politics, but it's highly improbable that the NPP or the NDC can beat either of them 8% in Greater Accra. I don't see it happening at all. So even if NPP is losing in Greater Accra, it will not lose up to that margin. In the same way, if NPP is losing in Central region, it will not lose up to that margin. So at the end of the day, if you have to make up the votes from somewhere, for instance, in the calculation that I did, I gave NDC 80% in the voter region. And the voter region here, for me, includes OT region as well. And don't forget, OT region is a new region now. It is possible that they may want to reward the government for giving them the region, and therefore they may not go for so much to the NDC as NDC has been winning all right. Of course, I expect the NDC to win voter region and OT region as well. But the margin of win, is it going to be the same as they've been winning previously from OT, the same way as they've been winning or not? That's another point that I made, and I put that scenario also into permutation as well. I put the entire 3 northern region to be one. That is the Northeast, Savannah, and the northern region. Now, let's look at the figures again. If you look at the figures now, Savannah, I expect NDC to win Savannah strongly, minimum of 65 to 70% winning Savannah. In the same way, I expect NPP to win Northeast strongly. But the numbers in Northeast and the numbers in Savannah are quite low. If you come to the northern region becomes the battleground for the 2 big parties, NPP and NDC. And where the chunk of vote is Tamale North, Tamale South, Tamale Central. It's predominantly NDC. So you give all that places also to the NDC. If you move out of Tamale, you go to Yendi. NPP is likely to get about 60% of the votes in Yendi. If you go to Gushegu, the same way. NPP is doing well in Karaga now. So the NDC strength in Karaga is also going to come down. NPP is doing little well in Saboba. If you go to the other part, Zabzugu, also NPP is doing. So if you put all this into consideration, then let's not forget that NDC wins so much in Upper East, the numbers have come down. NDC wins so well in Upper West, the numbers are also small. So if we put all this into consideration, then you have to come to the real grounds, Ashanti and Eastern, and they must get 50% of the votes from the Eastern region, and they must get that 30% of the vote in Ashanti. If you trace the graph, NDC was doing very well until 2016. It came down. If you look at from 2004, 2008, 2012, it was doing well. It was gradually going up, Unfortunately, 2016, it dropped. So when it dropped in 2016, we don't know what is going to happen in 2020 unless the election is done. And one thing very important, what gives NDC strength in Ashanti is when there's a high apathy. In political science, we call it political depression. It is political depression in Ashanti region. It goes in favor of the NDC. The same way as there was political depression also in Volta region in 2016, it went in favor of the NPP. So if we don't have political depression, there's what a political enthusiasm.
But based on your rounds, and I know around this time you normally would go around, based on your rounds, do you see, voter depression in the Ashanti region?
Not in Kumasi, which is where the votes are. Kumasi, or what the president will call Greater Kumasi. It is not, there's no sign of depression at all. And if you go to around Obuasi, Bekwai, Mampong, there's no sign of depression, at least from the round that I have been going so far. Now, there's a very important thing that I need to mention here also in Greater Accra. I have not done a lot of scientific studies to prove to Ghanaian population about why the numbers in Greater Accra are so low. But I have been able to talk to a number of people, and they tell you that, look, I'm from Kwau, I cannot go to Kwau, I'll have to vote here. I'm from here, I'm not able to go. And most of these guys, unfortunately, support the NPP. So that is why I still give me the point that to be able to win, you must get these votes from this area in order to make up from Greater Accra and Central as well.
Yes, but so this is for the NDC. Before we go for a break, let me understand the NPP figures also. You've talked about having to win, for instance, marginally in the Greater Accra region, and having to win the Eastern Ashanti, and which other region?
I said that they must, for NPP to win, they must win in Ashanti, they must also win in Central, and at the same time, they must win marginally in Greater Accra. That's what I said.
And these four will be enough to guarantee them victory in the election?
Yes. And they must, if they are winning Ashanti, they must win 75% of the votes in Ashanti and 60% of the votes in Eastern region.
And then in the Central region, what percentage of the votes?
Central region, the percentage is not too important. If they have to win Central region, they must win marginally. Central region and Greater Accra will have to be marginal. As indicated earlier on, Central region and Greater Accra region, see, Central region, the dynamics have changed a bit because of Awutu Senya East and Gomua East. A lot of people living in Accra here, working in Accra, live in those areas. So the Central region, the dynamics is becoming part of Greater Accra. So marginal win in Central region and marginal win in Greater Accra will do the trick for the MPP. Don't forget that if you look at the map of the Central region, NDC will win. And it's not that it will win in KEA, Cape Coast North, Cape Coast South. These constituencies are automatic for the NDC. They are going to win these ones. Now, if you move to the Gomuas and the Agones, that's the strength of the NPP. So the battlegrounds now become Awutu Senya East, at the same time, Gomua East. And so the marginal win in Central region and marginal win in Greater Accra will do the trick for the NPP.
But talking about, Cape Coast North and Cape Coast South, in the 2016 elections, the NPP won, when it comes to the presidential in Cape Coast South and lost the parliamentary, and won in Cape Coast North also. What has changed this time that you say NDC is going to win?
NDC is going to win because of the Jane factor.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because we have been there to do a study after she was nominated. NDC will sweep the 3 seats all in terms of the parliamentary, and will win the presidential for the 3 seats all. They are taking it.
In effect, you're saying that the Cape Coast North seat, the NPP will be losing that?
Yes, at least for now. That is what the data says.
How you talk about Aguna being one of the areas, but we do know that Aguna East, for instance, is still an NDC seat. I mean,
Yes.
the one which has, yes, Squinstar, Professor Yanka seeking to win that. So that is not an easy NDC NPP seat. What would change this time around?
If you look at the Agunas, the Aguna and the Gomuas and Efutu, and you add the Asen and the Denjira, to that give NPP a lot of strength in terms of the presidential elections. If you look at Ewutu West, also the NPP has some strength there. So if you aggregate all this and you put it together, global central, and NPP can beat NDC marginally, this is where it comes in.
We'll take a break at this point. When we come back, we'll wrap up with you, Dr. Usumensa. You need to take leave of us. This is UPfront on Joy News channel. It's getting interesting. Dr. Usumensa, who normally researches and looks at the trends around this time, is dropping one or two hints as to what would happen in election 2020. And I know you wouldn't want to miss any bit of it. We'll be right back after the break. Great, so welcome back from that short break, and thank you very much for staying with us. This is UPfront on the JoyNews channel. I still have Dr. Emmanuel de Graaf Johnson Owusu-Ansah with us. He's lecturer at the Department of Actuarial Science and Mathematics at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah. Let me just wrap it up with you, Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah, because you would have to leave us. So, if the NPP wins the central region, they're good to go. In the Greater Accra region, which you expect them to win marginally, which you say if they win marginally, if they win marginally, they're good to go. How does the trend look like when it comes to the Greater Accra region?
Greater Accra region, for now, I must say that NPP is not doing bad in Greater Accra, given the studies that we have done all the time up to now. NPP is not doing bad. So it is important that the NDC will have to up their game if they want to beat NPP in Greater Accra. One of the very important policy of the government that people have been playing and joking with is a free SHS. And I think people in Greater Accra are very happy with the free SHS policy that the government has brought about, and also the extent of investment in the road sector. This is really helping the government a lot. And we cannot rule out the impact of this free water and the half electricity payment, and also the stimulus package that the president has given to people in the COVID time. All these are factors that are helping the NPP to gain grounds in the Greater Accra region.
So if the NPP is gaining grounds in the Greater Accra region, then Dr. Owusu-Mensah, based on your own analysis, it's becoming increasingly difficult for the NDC then, isn't it?
I haven't said that, please.
No, I'm asking you that question, that, based on the analysis.
I'm putting the data as it is.
Yeah, so based on you saying what it is. No, hold on, Dr. Owusu-Mensah. Based on you saying what it is, can I reasonably infer, and I want a confirmation or otherwise from you, that it is becoming very difficult for the NDC based on all the trends that you see leading up to the 2020 elections?
In the 2020 election, the trend and this information we put up in the public domain several times, and the data shows that in terms of the presidential, it is much more in favor of the NPP than the NDC, as if the election is held today across the country, given the areas that have given. Because, to be frank with you, for NDC to win 50% in Eastern region, it is probable, but it is possible. The probability is extremely low. For them to win 30% in Ashanti region, it is also possible, but the probability is very, very low. And for NDC to beat NPP in Greater Accra as well, it's possible, all right, but the probability is very low. The same as in Central region as well. If we put the global Central region together, this is how the figures looks like.
So based on your own analysis and with the possibility being low, that's my final question to you, so you could leave us. Based on your own analysis and with the possibility being very low, then you tip the NPP, all things being equal, to win.
If elections held today, I expect the NPP to win the presidential elections in Ghana. If the elections held today, given the numbers that the EC has churned out now, if these percentages are going to work out this way as we speak now, because from now to December, there's still a lot of time. But from our election study that we have done over the years, at least 80% of Ghanaians have decided now. At least 80% of the Ghanaians have decided. They decide at least 6 months before the elections day. So putting all these factors into consideration, it is expected that the NPP will win the presidential elections if the elections held today.
How about the parliamentary?
The parliamentary, it is very complex now. It's complex because there are some constituencies that are given for the NPP. And given the nature of the primaries and people not satisfied with issues about the primaries, there are a lot of threats from good areas that NPP knew that they were going to win them easily of independent candidates. Now, these independent candidates have given out the threat. They have not come out to file. But if EC opens the nominations and these independent candidates come out and file that they are contesting as parliamentary candidates in their respective constituencies, then it will be difficult for the NPP to have the majority in parliament.
Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah, thank you very much. Yes, go ahead. You're wrapping up.
The numbers of people who are threatening to go as independent candidates in the NPP strong areas, they are enormous. And therefore, they need to work on them if they want to maintain their majority in parliament at the end of the day. And also, we should not forget the fact that there are some constituencies that are swing, and it's possible that NPP may lose some of them. And also some constituencies that are swing that NDC will also lose some of them. As usual, there will be trade-off here and there. But whereby they have concluded that these are our constituencies and they are independent parliamentary candidates popping up, it becomes difficult to claim that this constituency is for me at the end of the day.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah. We certainly would get back to you. But let me just wrap it up with Dr. De Graaf Johnson as well. So Dr. De Graaf Johnson, Dr. Owusu-Mensah, you know, with all the analysis that he's done, suggests that looks like with 80% decided already if elections were held today, the NPP is in the lead. You agree? You've been crunching the numbers as well? Is that the same thing you see? Hello, Dr. De Graaf Johnson.
Unfortunately, yes. We have not gone to do... Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Wilson?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, I can hear you.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have not gone to the ground to do polling myself to be able to collaborate or disagree with whatever he has put out. But for us, we are looking at the numbers using the historical patterns according to how voting has gone over the years. One thing that I have to point out here is that all these possible projections that we are making are coming out as a result of voter turnout. Now, we should bear in mind that voter turnout consists of valid and invalid vote cast. So if it happens that the invalid vote cast number goes out, then it's going to affect all this kind of analysis that we are doing. For us, for our analysis, what we can say is that for any of the political parties...
Hello, Dr. De Graaf Johnson. Okay, so I think that we'd have to just work the lines again. But Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah is making the point. He's a senior lecturer at the Department of Political Science of the University of Ghana, that for the NPP to win, they have to win Ashanti region by some 75% of the votes cast, and also do Eastern region win about 60% of it. Let's get back to, Dr. De Graaf Johnson and wrap it up with you. Yes, Dr. De Graaf Johnson, you're making a point. Please continue. If you can unmute your, this thing, microphone, so we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I think you can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, go ahead. You're making a point.
Okay. The point I'm making is that we have not gone down there to do polling ourselves in order to agree or disagree with my senior colleague, what he has said. So all of our analysis is based on historical pattern of voting. And we should bear in mind that this one is voter turnout, which consists of valid vote cast and then invalid vote cast. So one thing that you must prevent is to make sure that the invalid vote cast number actually reduces in order to make sure the parties get the needed votes that they need to win for the election. Now, if you look at the 75% that he has talked about over the years, consistently, MPP is close or above that particular value. In some election cycles, they are far above that value. In some cycles, they are within that value. But actually, the 60-40% of the Eastern region, we don't know the dynamics now, because we've seen that a lot of the people who would have preferred to vote in the Eastern are in Greater Accra. Due to COVID-19, they registered in Greater Accra region. So all these dynamics, we are all looking at how it will play out in the 2020.
Okay.
The 2020 election is going to be quite different from the 2016 and then the 2012, due to the fact that people actually have to vote at where they stay this particular time.
All right. Dr. DeGraff Johnson, thank you so much for joining us. We're very grateful to you. Dr. DeGraff Johnson is a lecturer at the Department of Actuarial Science and Mathematics of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Earlier you heard from Dr. Isaac Owusu-Mensah, a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, talking about the fact that, well, the MPP would have to win Central Region marginally, Greater Accra marginally, Eastern Ashanti, and then they are good to go. And from his own analysis, he makes a point that even though there's that probability that the NDC could win these two regions, the possibility is very low, and so he expects the NPP to win, and that's making it difficult for the NDC to win, the presidential election come December 7, 2020. That's all we all from us this evening on Upfront on the JoyNews channel. My name is Winston. I'm on behalf of the team. Thank you very much for joining us. Up next is JoyNews Prime. Keep watching the JoyNews channel. Have a lovely evening.